Hello, everyone. My name is Jane Edmondson, and I'm the head of Thematic Strategy here at VettaFi. And today, I'm happy to welcome David Schulhof. He's the CEO of MUSQ to talk about today's disruptive index theme, music, on this segment of what makes the ticker tick. So today's index ticker is MUSQIX. That stands for music. And I welcome today David Schulhof, CEO of MUSQ. David, you have a lot of experience in the music industry. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you launched the index behind the MUSQ ETF?
Sure, Jane. So I've been investing in music companies for the last 25 years. A lot of public companies, a lot of private companies. MUSQ is really the first pure play music exchange traded fund, giving investors a totally liquid, convenient, and portable way to invest across the entire music industry ecosystem. Throughout my career, it's been very hard for investors to get exposure to music. They had to be an LP at Blackstone or KKR or Apollo, or they invested in their friend's record company or music publishing company. MUSQ gives retail investors and sophisticated financial advisors an opportunity to invest across streaming, content, live music events, ticketing, equipment, technology, satellite, and radio in a very liquid, convenient, and portable way.
So, David, the ETF that tracks the index just celebrated its 1 year anniversary this month. Can you highlight some of the biggest music industry trends that have occurred over the last year? And I mean, obviously, there's the Taylor Swift effect, but there's a bigger story here. What are some of the catalysts behind the growth story, and why is music such a compelling and disruptive investment theme?
Sure. So, first, Jane, music today represents the most undermonetized, underhyped media asset. JP Morgan has called music the best content story in the history of the media business. Music is cheap. Music is cheap today compared to what you pay for HBO Go, for Hulu, for Disney, for Netflix. You pay what, $11 a month for access to 200 million songs? Investors should pay, or consumers should pay double that. They should pay $20 or $22 for access to those songs. So music is a very compelling investment opportunity because we believe it's extremely undermonetized and underutilized. Music consumption today in the United States, 87% of that is dominated by streaming. Streaming is growing at 11 to 14% in the United States. It's growing as high as 25% in the emerging markets. And all the streaming companies now are raising rates for the first time. So that's creating enormous windfalls for both the streaming companies and all of the content owners, the record companies, the music publishing companies. So we believe that music today is really entering into a golden age between streaming and content. And then you look at live music events and ticketing, and you look at venues like Sphere, and you look at all the tours from 2023 from like Taylor Swift to Beyonce. You know, people want to go out, they want to see live music. So all these companies are in our fund, from Live Nation to Spotify to Sphere to Universal to Tencent. So we are really capturing the global growth of all these exciting companies.
David, can we talk a little bit about the index methodology? Full disclosure, MUSQX is a VettaFi index. What is the starting universe? How does a company get into the index? How many names are in the index, and how often is it rebalanced?
So MUSQ tracks the performance of music companies globally. These are companies that generate greater than 50% of their revenues from music, or they are a top five player in the streaming market or content or live music event and ticketing market. These are all companies. We have approximately 40 companies in our fund today. No single company can have a market cap less than $100 million, and they have to have average daily trading liquidity of $500,000 a day for the last 6 months. All the companies are market cap weighted in our fund. So we do include the big names like Apple, Amazon, and Google, because after Spotify and Tencent, they're the third, fourth, and fifth largest streaming company in the world. But their weights are capped at 5%. So all these companies are market cap weighted across the entire music industry ecosystem. And so we have approximately 40 companies in the fund. The fund gets rebalanced quarterly. Every quarter, we look at new companies that are eligible, that may have gone public through a SPAC, or they may have grown. And of course, there are companies, those that if they do underperform, they go off the index. And so new companies come on, new companies go off every quarter. And about 40% of the holdings are domestic companies, and about 60% of the companies are foreign companies. And these are really exciting companies, like HIM in Taiwan, companies like one of the biggest content companies like Genie Corp and Kakao, the biggest streaming companies in South Korea, companies like Cloud Music, companies like SM Entertainment, or YG and YG Plus. And these are big international companies that a lot of investors don't know unless they take a look at our fund and they see that these are all really exciting companies worldwide that they can invest in. So MUSQ really creates a very diversified, liquid, convenient way for investors to get access to all these companies globally.
Yeah, this really is a global theme, David. You know, one of the things that you can see from the attached chart is the growth opportunities in places like Latin America and Asia and Africa.
Yes. So streaming today in the US is growing at approximately 11 to 14%. And then if you look at some of the emerging markets, like the territories you just mentioned, they're growing as high as 25% or 30%, whether it's Africa or Latin America or Asia or Australia. So music today, is really entering into a golden age. You have 8 billion people on the planet, 7.2 billion people have a cell phone. There's only 600 million paid streaming subscribers. That's like 8%. So if you read the Goldman Sachs report, Music in the Air, that number is doubling to 1.2 billion paid streaming subscribers. And we still think that we're just scratching the surface, because it's hard to envision somebody who owns a cell phone that isn't consuming music in some way. So when you factor in all this global streaming penetration, you factor in the use of mobile phone use and the possibilities of music adoption on all of the mobile phones worldwide, we're really we're just scratching the surface right now with the industry. You know, the industry today is up double from where it was in 2020. In the last 20, it peaked out at around a $20 billion business in 2000. In 2000, I mean, in 2000, it peaked at about 20 billion, and now we're at like close to, the whole industry is at 80 billion today, when you factor in recorded music and publishing and live music. And that number, if you read the Goldman Sachs report, Music in the Air by Lisa Yang, that number is doubling to $171 billion. So it went from 20 billion to potentially going to $171 billion. It's really fascinating. I encourage the audience to read the white paper that we have, on our at MUSQETF.com. You could read the Music in the Air report from Goldman Sachs, Lisa Yang's report. But the numbers are just astonishing in terms of growth potential for the music industry today.
And where would investors position this in an investment portfolio?
So music in our view should be approximately 5 to 10% of an investor's portfolio. We are a thematic fund. We are not correlated, with very few exception, maybe a few stocks that have exposure to advertising. Everything else is not correlated. All the streaming companies are not correlated. Neither are the content companies. If you look at moments like COVID, consumers were consuming more content, not less content, and all the content companies benefited. So we think this is a very exciting long-term thematic growth play for investors. And it creates diversification in their portfolio. It gives them double-digit like returns without the volatility or exposure to the S&P, to the global equity markets. It's not correlated in so many different ways, and it's outperforming the GDP at like 5 or 6 times in the United States, and as high as like 8 or 9 times in the emerging markets. So it's a long-term investment. It's venture capital type returns without the volatility of the equity markets.
Well, David, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, the index ticker is MUSQIX. And where should viewers go to find more information again about the ETF, David?
For those interested, you can go to our website, MUSQETF.com.
Thank you again, David. And here at VettaFi, we connect you to the entire ETF ecosystem. To learn more about how we can help support your index and production growth strategies, please reach out to us at VettaFi.com. And you can also get more information on this great index on our website as well.